thanks to the cloud, you guys no longer have to worry about keeping all those paper receipts and invoices stored. With the archive in your receipt bank account, we do all of the storing for you for a minimum of 7 years, but we don't actually delete anything. So this is all compliant with the IRS and the CRA. So when you start submitting those items on the go, your accountant or bookkeeper will no longer have to chase you guys for those documents. They'll no longer be calling you up and saying, "Hey, where's that receipt from, or the invoice for, last month for, electric, whatever it is that you guys need to be paying." Your accountant or bookkeeper doesn't have to call you anymore because they'll be submitting it to a receipt bank. So by moving on to Receipt Bank in the cloud, your accountant and bookkeeper is actually future-proofed you for disasters and audits as well. So it's important to see the opportunity of submitting in real time, and by having the opportunity to regularly submit this real-time information to your accountants and bookkeepers, as a small business or medium-sized business, you guys can start realizing the worth of that data. So you'll have up-to-date books in return. So this means that if you guys want a better understanding of where your cash flow is at the end of the month, do you need to hire more employees? Can you afford that? Do you need to buy new equipment or fix some equipment? Can you afford that? And that's what submitting these items in on a daily basis, that's what's gonna, give your accountants and bookkeepers that ability to make sure that your books are up to date, so you can have that visibility into your books. So really important to think about. And again, I do want to touch back on, it's also going to help with audit proofing. If you manage to submit all of your receipts and all of your invoices into Receipt Bank, we've had the CRA and the IRS both come in to our partners at various times, obviously not together, and it'll take an hour, 3 hours max, instead of saying, 4 days, or having to go through that painful experience. And then you're also not going to have those penalties. So think about the bigger picture of what Receipt Bank can offer you in terms of it's giving you that audit proofing. It's also giving you that disaster proofing, guys. I know there's been those fires out in California, the storms that we've had earlier this summer, anything from those natural disasters to also what happens if your computer crashes and everything you have stored on there gets deleted, then what? So that's what the benefit of the cloud is, and that's the benefit of Receipt Bank, and why your accountants and bookkeepers have decided to bring you onto a tool like this, because they want to make sure that they're providing the best experience for you, and the safest options as well. So with that being said, let's talk about how to actually use Receipt Bank, and what are your submission methods. So all you guys need to do is submit the receipt or invoice and leave the rest up to your client, or up to your accountants and bookkeepers. And that's what we're going to walk through with the mobile app and the personal email and address today. So by now, hopefully you guys have all downloaded Receipt Bank. You can find it in your app store. You can go ahead and download it there. Sorry about this, guys. So here is the Receipt Bank app. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. So what you'll see is, because I've already logged in here, it's a little bit different than the first time you guys log in. But essentially, all you need to do, if you're logging in for the first time, this is where you're going to put in the email address that your accountant and bookkeeper has sent you, the one that they signed you up with, and then the password. It should be all set. You should have received that information in an email, or if you downloaded it from the SMS invite, it should be pre-populated for you there. So once you actually have logged in, you'll then be taken to this screen. So let's actually walk through what it means to take a picture. So you're going to go ahead and click this, obviously the camera button right there. Open that up, and you're going to take a picture of your receipt. So I actually had a lovely wine and cheese night with some of my friends. So this is everything from that that I wanted to capture. So you have a couple options here. If you guys just want to take that picture and submit, you're going to go ahead and hit the submit for processing down here. If there's a few edits that you need to make before, meaning writing down that receipt description. So maybe this was a staff lunch that you wanted to submit in. This is where you would make that in, write that in for your accountant or bookkeeper to see. You would hit save and then hit submit for processing. So what's great is then you'll see it come here, and then you don't have to do anything else. You can actually throw away that receipt. I actually want to show you guys a couple of the other modes as well, so you're familiar. So the one I just used was single mode. So single mode means I just have one receipt here. That's all I need to take a picture of. What happens if, let's say, you went to the coffee shop, then you went and got lunch at a sandwich somewhere else, or maybe you're at office, Home Depot, and then you have to go to a lumber store, whatever your business is. Let's say you just didn't have that time in the moment to take that picture, but then you had your receipts at the end of the day. You could actually use multiple mode. So this means you're going to take pictures of multiple receipts at the same time. These would be different receipts though. So maybe one was for Streets Cafe, we can see here. I unfortunately don't have another receipt in front of me, but let's say this was then an invoice that I got from Comcast for my internet. So I would take just a picture here, and then I would take a picture here. Then you would just hit submit, and both would then be submitted into your receipt bank account. Finally, the last mode we have is called combine mode. And so this is great because if, let's say you had a 2-page invoice, for example. So let's say this is my Comcast invoice. I need to take pictures of both pages. So I take a picture here and then here. So what this is going to do is I'm then going to hit that check mark, submit for processing, and it's then going into my receipt bank account as just one item. So those are the 3 different modes that you can use when using the mobile app. The other piece that I want to talk you guys through is actually then the email in. So what you can see here is if you actually go into what I clicked on, see, I can do it again. What I clicked on were these 3 bars up here. So this is where you would then see the email in. I'm going to click on this button right here. This is the unique receipt bank email me that you guys, or email and address that you're all assigned. So what's great about this is you can actually add it to your contacts, and it'll say receipt bank email and address. And this is where you would just simply forward in maybe that Uber receipt that you had, or the like Apple receipt, anything that you get via email, it's an invoice or a receipt, you can just forward it into Receipt Bank. And the benefit of, and you can just type in Receipt Bank email and address instead. So are there any questions in terms of how to use the mobile app and how to use the email in? So to give you a heads up, I'm actually using an iPhone. If you're using an Android, what you'll see to show you the email in, to show you a little bit more information, is there would actually be a gear icon down on the bottom right-hand side here, and it would take you to the same information, just in terms of, that's just the difference with the Android app. So that's where you'll see the differences. The other piece I want to walk you guys through is there's a chance that some of you guys have multiple entities. So how do you use Receipt Bank when you have a couple different Receipt Bank accounts? So I'm going to go back up here to this circle icon and tap that. So you'll then go to, instead of create account, you'll actually go to add account. And this is when you would log in with the other information for your second or third Receipt Bank account. So once you've logged in, then what you would do is just choose the one that you want to be submitting for. So we were just on my actual personal Receipt Bank expense reports login. If you go into, I'll go into this Beyonce, one of our demo accounts, and you'll see the inbox looks a little bit different now because these are different receipts that I had to submit for the Beyonce account instead. So that's how you'll toggle back and forth. Again, on the Android, you would then, again, just use that gear icon, and then it would pull up add account on the left-hand side. So that's how you log in and toggle back and forth. You can make sure you're submitting for the right account at the top, because it will have the email address associated with the account you're submitting for as just a double check. Yeah, okay, the next question from Mario. How about forwarding PDF invoices from email to Receipt Banks? So let me see if I can just pull up an email here. Great, so let's go to, let's just say oh man, that I had, let me find, should have had this pulled up for you guys. You can see all of the spam that I'm getting, right? Okay, let's pull up this Apple receipt. So I would just hit that forward into receipt bank email and address, clicking that top one, send, and voila. So that's what you guys can do to send in those receipts. Then it'll come up into the inbox. So we take a lot of attachments. PDF is great if you just send that in to your receipt bank account. So great question there, Mario. Sorry, there's a nice question. You may have, from Sarah, you may have covered this earlier. I just recently joined during your overview of the mobile app. What is the process for seeing expenses that have been submitted? And then what do you do with them once they've been approved? How do you move them from expenses submitted to receipts or invoice to be paid? Great question, Sarah. So with the mobile app, you're going to see everything that's sitting in the inbox. So anything that you submitted, will be sitting here waiting for your accountant to actually do the coding and submitting it over into your accounting software. So once something has been worked on and published over into the accounting software or published over into the archive, then it will disappear from your inbox on the mobile app. That way you know that it's already been dealt with and been submitted to be paid out depending on what it is. So hopefully that should answer your question. Something else to note when you're on the Receipt Bank app. So when you're submitting for the first time, you'll be taking this picture, single mode, and when you hit edit, you won't be able to choose the category because this is what our software is learning for you and for your accountant. So we'll automatically categorize it for you. So it really is as hassle-free as possible in terms of the fact that you just need to submit the item and hit and say and go from there. Sarah, your question is what about on actual Receipt Bank? So that's something that you and I can take offline because that would be more training on an individual basis. So we can talk about it post this webinar. So that's essentially, how to use the two submission methods, guys, and those are the ones that are going to be really important for you to do. Best practice is to submit on a daily basis because you don't want to have to sit there at the end of the month taking all these pictures because you may have lost some receipts, things got crinkled, spilled on, you name it. Take it in the moment. It's really simple. It's really easy. And just it'll make your lives much easier down the road in terms of giving you that transparency.